Oh, that's it. Hello and welcome to the Wickford Area Committee. This is a meeting of the council held in public. This is not a public meeting. There is no fire drill planned, so if the fire alarm sounds, please leave by the nearest exit, which is by the large screen at the front of the room, and proceed down the fire exit to the courtyard. Once it is safe to return, councillors will receive a text message. Officers will advise when it is safe to return. We are recording the meeting this evening using our webcasting system. The webcast will be transmitted live and will also be available on the council's website following the meeting. All mobile devices should be switched off and set to silent so that the meeting is not interrupted. There's no public, so I haven't got to read that bit. Okay, we've got a new member. I'd like to introduce and welcome Councillor Shields to the meeting. Welcome to Wickford Area Committee. And have we got any apologies for absence? We haven't, have we? No apologies for absence. Okay. Any declarations of interest? Councillor Sargent.
Chairman, I'll just declare an interest on the community spotlight because I know both of the young ladies here tonight, and some of their work takes place in my village hall, and so it's best to declare rather than not. Thank you. Yeah,
I agree with that. Thank you. No. Oh, Councillor Myers.
I suppose going back on that as well, I've been out with the litter pickers a few times.
Okay, thank you for that. Minutes of the previous meeting. Has everyone read and agree with the minutes? All those in favour, please show. Any against and one abstention, I assume? Yeah, one abstention.
Thank
you. Okay, we'll move on to item number 4, the community spotlight. The community spotlight this week is focused on Note Bridge. So if we could have Miss Wadsworth and Miss Brish, please. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tracy Breach and I'm here to talk about our Notebridge Community Events Group. It actually started with a seed of an idea back in March 2022 as a result of the national appeal for Ukraine. Walking around Notebridge, we kept hearing how people wished to donate but didn't know how or where, not online, or preferred to donate cash. We very quickly put our heads together. We made 50 metres of yellow and blue bunting, put posters on every lamppost. The village hall was donated free of charge, and within 2 weeks we held a 2-hour Ukraine appeal coffee morning. We had a raffle, a tombola, various fun stalls, a volunteer coffee crew, and dozens of ladies delivering homemade bakes and cakes. Everything was donated, hundreds turned up, and we raised £3,400. As a result of the success, we formed a committee, agreed a constitution and opened a community bank account. The group was set up with the ethos of fostering community spirit. It is run by residents, for residents, on a non-profit voluntary basis. We support local and national charities with events such as bingo nights, quiz evenings, a barn dance. We held an Easter fair, and last year we had an 80th D-Day commemorative fish and chip supper with 1940s entertainment. That was helped with a £500 donation from Notebridge Parish Council. To date, we've raised over £12,000 for charities like Essex and Hertfordshire Air Ambulance, St Luke's Hospice, Guide Dogs, South Essex Wildlife Hospital, Help for Heroes, Mind and Bernardo's. And on Saturday we have a summer race night in the hall, which is a great fun whilst raising money for Prostate Cancer UK. Our regular event is the Macmillan Coffee Morning, which we hold every September. We get to serve drinks and we're inundated with cakes. We've had all sorts of stalls at these events, like Grower Sunflower for the children, Pre-Loved Ladies' Clothes, a plant stall, and we sold jam using green gauges from my garden that Pat makes. As well as running these events and helping charities, we try to be an all-inclusive with original and sometimes crazy projects. These have included Getting a giant pebble painted like a snake's head to lay on grass outside the school, where over 300 painted pebbles were added by the children to create the snake's body. We had hearts crafted by the toddler group, school children and adults to hang along Coppice Lane for Valentine's. We asked residents to decorate their windows for a street advent calendar. Our postbox has 5 to 6 different knitted toppers throughout the year representing seasonal themes. We've got 1,500 knitted and crochet flowers from previous displays, of which some are now in the hall as a giant tree with summer flowers. And of course our well-known knitted and crocheted poppies, where we now have over 3,000, with more being made this year for this year's remembrance displays. They are displayed on trees, signs and bollards. They decorate the hall and porch as well as the 5 bus shelters. Each year they're taken down, cleaned, washed and stored, ready for next time. We have a Facebook page which currently has 420 followers, but of course many more residents support us just by word of mouth. There is no membership fee and no weekly meetings, so it's the simplest of groups to support from home. We're always open to new ideas and anyone can join in. We work hard but have a great time organising these projects for the benefits of our wonderful Notebridge community.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Pat Wadsworth and I'm here tonight representing Friends of Notebridge. We are a friendly neighbourhood group formed less than a year ago and run by volunteers to benefit the Notebridge community. Residents had expressed concerns over lack of care and maintenance, primarily around Coppice Lane Pond and the woods. So an open meeting was organised and as a result this group was formed. Of course we know that these areas are the responsibility of Basildon Borough Council, but we are also realistic enough to recognise that with the whole borough to care for and with budgetary limitations, our green areas can't necessarily be maintained and looked after to the degree residents would wish or expect. So the aim of this group is to do what we can to help care for our lovely environment. And of course it goes without saying that all of us carry a responsibility to protect nature and wildlife for ourselves and future generations. We have modelled our group on other Friends of groups across the borough, albeit our area is much smaller and is not gated, nor does it have specific park status. We have developed a good relationship with Basildon Parks and Countryside team. They fully support our aims and they encouraged us to join the Basildon Parks and Countryside Volunteer Network, which we did. Some of you may be familiar with the Volunteer Network. We meet every 3 months. It provides a forum to share initiatives and ideas, and I must say I enjoy attending. Members of the groups are very supportive and helpful with practical tips and advice. We made a start last autumn with getting Coppice Lane Pond topped up, an essential responsibility of the council that was undertaken by Rob Baker and his team in partnership with Essex and Suffolk Water and the Environment Agency. Our pond has no natural water feed and this has always been an issue, and with climate change and lack of rainfall nowadays this is even more of a challenge that needs to be constantly reviewed. Residents of Notebridge love their pond and lack of water in the pond always generates more comments than any other subject on Notebridge social media sites. So volunteers cut back the Norfolk Reed, cleaned railings and signs, planted flower troughs and installed duck crossing signage. All this at no cost to Basildon Council or Notebridge Parish Council. We also asked for and got a new life-saving life ring for the pond. We're a small community, so voluntary help is essential for digging, cleaning and planting, and our first priority was to install an information board near to the pond to reach out to everyone, not just those on Facebook. Thanks to the Wickford Area Committee, we were successful with our application for a grant to cover the cost of purchasing and installing such a notice board, which is now on order. Naturally, with all our projects, we are hand in hand with the Basildon Parks team and ensure any work we do is agreed with them and compliant with their protocols, health and safety and risk assessment requirements. If you like, we are the eyes and ears as we see things daily, and what we're able to manage ourselves, we do. Other projects under review are such as a wildflower patch. We already have native seeds donated by a resident. composting, introducing English bluebells into our woods, a woodland trail and a mini orchard. We've had several site meetings with Rob Baker and his team, and Josh Childs popped down to offer great advice on improving our biodiversity. We do not have charitable status, but in order to be a recognised association, we are a constituted group with a community bank account. This enables us to receive donations from whoever wishes to contribute to our meagre funds and to apply for funding for projects. So it's early days for our group, but we hope the interest will grow and more residents will come to value the work volunteers do in the community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very interesting. We would have had a third person for the litter pickers, but you've all received a handout instead, so there should be a handout to read for that. Has anyone got any questions for our Spotlight people? Councillor Sargent.
Thank you, Chairman. I haven't got any questions. I just wanted to relay how good it is to live at Note Bridge. I've lived there for over 40 years, and that's when we started off our community groups, and it's great that over the years it's been taken over by all different people, and obviously Tracy, she's always done the Macmillan in the village hall, and you'd never believe the money that she raises for that and what she did for Ukraine. And it's great to know that Pat now has taken over the pond, because my husband used to do a lot of work in there until he reached an age where he's just gone a bit past that. But it's great that there is a fantastic group of people that they've got doing that pond, and it's amazing the work that they do. And also it's great that they are tuned in with the council, joined up with them, because obviously everybody should know that people just can't do things to ponds, etc. They've got to get the authority and knowledge from the council, and that's exactly what they're doing. I am so pleased to be part of that village, pleased to be a volunteer myself, and absolutely delighted to have so much to do with, these people who are absolutely extreme in their efforts, work so hard at Note Bridge. It's just a pleasure to know them. So well done, girls. Keep it up.
Well, you can't get much more praise than that. Don't get easy praise from Councillor Sargent, but there you go. So, yeah, I learned a lot. And I do remember the Ukraine ribbons thing. I do remember seeing that. So, yeah, I learned a lot. As I said, it's not an area I know very well, but I do know about the pond and Coppice Lane and all that. So, yes, it's nice to hear from you. And obviously, we do community grants, as you well know. So, perhaps in the future you can apply to the committee for more. Any other questions? Councillor Myers.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Don't really know where to start after Councillor Sargent's massive praise for you lot. And I know Howie can't be here this evening. He's on holiday, but he organises the Note Bridge litter pickers on the last Sunday of each month, and he truly is phenomenal in the amount of work that he does in order to advertise and to get people out. It has over 50 members. Not all of those turn up, but a lot of people do their own individual picks, which I think is incredible. Now, I've been to a few of those, and I think in one of the presentations, I think I'm in a picture of that, unfortunately. I don't know why, but there we go. But to say praise to them. They have their own areas set out. They have walkabouts with groups and children to go out and pick as well. They work with a school, and they work with the local community. And every time we're out and about, people come along to us and say hello. Sometimes in Area 1, I think, Pat, is that your area, Area 1?
Yes, I do Area 1, but I get a lot of toots when I'm along the road because people think I'm doing community service. So we now have high vis with speakers over the back. But I don't know, I've been tooted.
I mean, the work they do. I mean, I normally get stuck with Wash Road because he wants me to go down there and have a look at how some of the worst areas are. And obviously, we see on certain corners of Wash Road where there are dumping of waste, etc., and also with dog walkers. And I'm hoping this evening in the work programme, Chairman, when we come to it, to put forward a request for capital funding for some extra dog bins in certain areas along Wash Road, which would help that situation, especially where they're clearly at the end and there's no facility there at the moment. But I would just like to say on record that the work that they do and the work that the other community groups do in Note Bridge, with the emails that we get and the help that we can provide to those, it is phenomenal in the village. And really, you should give yourself a round of applause. And I'd just like to suggest that now for what you do. But of course, you know, working with the parks team as well, they're all very enthusiastic. They want to work with you, especially with the nature reserve, and to improve that as we go forwards. But really, just a tremendous effort and very, very well done.
Thank you, Councillor. Any others? No? Okay. So well done and thank you. And remember, there are grants available, and obviously Councillor Myers is going to put forward something in our work programme for you. So thank you for coming. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. So we move on to item number 6. Oh, item number 5, Morgan Sintel are coming to the next meeting. They couldn't make this meeting, so item 5 will be postponed until the next meeting. So we'll move on to item number 6, which is funding considerations. We've got 3 funding considerations for this meeting, and the first one is a Wickford Pride team, 50%, and I'll pass over to Mark Aldridge to give a presentation on this.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'll just sort of go through the investment request. So it'll be £38,000 to fund 50% of a 2-person Pride team for the Wickford area. And this will be broken down, 30,000 from the Wickford Believe in Basildon Fund and 2,667 from each of the ward's Community Priority Fund. For those who don't know, the Council Pride team are part of the neighbourhood service function, are a multidisciplinary team able to support and enhance neighbourhoods through the undertaking of the following works: soft landscaping, cutting back and removing overgrowth, deep cleaning, weed spraying and removal, and the edging of pathways. If this funding was agreed, the Area Committee would have the ability to have an input into the works undertaken within each of the Area Committee boundaries through a monthly work setting programme and progress update with the Chair of the Area Committee and regular updates to the Area Committee on works undertaken.
Thank you for that, and I'm sorry, Mark, I thought you was... So, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm here to answer questions that James asked me to come along short notice. So, yeah, any questions I'm welcome to answer.
Thank you for that. Sorry to put you on the spot. Have we got any initial questions? Councillor Brockman.
Thanks, Chair. I'd like to know what would happen if, say, one of the members of the Pride team was sick in one of the other areas. Would you be taking a member of our Pride team away to cover that, or for holidays or something like that?
No, we wouldn't be doing that.
Right, so basically you're guaranteeing that we'll have 2 people 52 weeks of a year?
It's 26 weeks, it'll be 26, sorry. Because the 38,000 is only funding half the Pride team.
Councillor Jeffrey, you got some questions?
Thanks, Chairman. Just for clarity in my own mind, so what would be the exact process for ensuring that the Pride team actually visits the areas that residents are raising for members' attention?
Yeah, obviously, Councillor Jeffrey, this is something that's very new, so there's a lot that we've got to programme. So what we decided to do is speak to the chair, and for the chair to speak to yourselves, and divide the work equally amongst the wards within the area. And then so we can programme for the future what works we can do for each area, so it's spread fairly.
Thanks, because essentially from what you're saying is that we've added another layer of bureaucracy on top of what our request would be. So if I got a request from a constituent, I would then put that through the normal way. But what it seems like we're saying is I make a request, that request can be vetoed by the chair. Not to say he would, but if he was minded to, he could, or even in Castleton and Crouch. So just my concern is that process for us to actually make the suggestions to just go through the normal process still there? And secondly, just on this strand of questioning, is if it's to be an improvement in the standard of service provision, how many more areas will they actually be attending through this funding agreement?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we can carry on as you normally do, raising through your council inquiries, Jules. That's not a problem, and obviously we'll address everything as it comes through. It's just that now we've got this set amount of money, we can programme it and share it amongst the 3 areas. So it gives us a lot better chance to help you out within the areas and make them prioritise. So it's all about priorities, but yes, we still answer the council inquiries.
I think if I can put it in straight ahead is the ring roads around the Wick estate. If we can cover those, but that would be lovely. Just on one extra point, I know we're saying about a resource and it's a pride team of 2, and I'm happy to be corrected if I'm wrong, but it's my understanding that the town council have paid for 15 hours a week, or they've set aside funds, and are seeking to enter an agreement with Basildon Council. Now I'm just wondering, obviously that this is a 2-member team, but I'd really like the extra 15 hours a week as well. So I'm just wondering what we can actually get as a commitment here that will work with the town council to get that money for the Wickford parish, and sort of go from there.
Sorry, can you explain what you actually would like and to pay for an extra 15 hours a week?
Yeah, so the town council have set aside this ESO, Environmental Support Officer, and they've, at least from the documentation I've read, have said that they're prepared to pay and enter into an agreement for 1 year at least for 15 hours a week. So, I mean, I'm not exactly asking you to sign in blood here, but I think at least to some agreement that at least you'll go to the town council as they've set aside the money, because those 15 hours a week extra, that would be something that Billericay or Basildon's not getting, and that's obviously working locally with the town council.
Yeah, I mean, I'd just like, I'd like to obviously discuss that further, to be honest with you. It's something, it's a lot of more detail, and it's not something I can't answer right here at this moment in time, but it's something we'd like to discuss.
Councillor Sargent.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I will be supporting this because it's necessary to keep our areas clean and tidy, because they're not looking very clean and tidy at the moment. And I'm quite miffed that our area committee funding is getting depleted by picking up council services, because we've got the there's the pride team, then there's the car parking, which we didn't agree with, but then again it's the majority rule, and then there's the crunches, and they're all council services. I mean, Councillor Myers and I put a motion in last meeting, and again we lost, so that's an awful lot of money coming out of the budgets, and it just seems to me that we are losing momentum on what these committees were actually set up for. They were for our communities. Yes, I mean, Councillor Jeffries has just mentioned what he wants to do, which I'm full in agreement with. Same as Councillor Myers wanting to put in some dog bins at Noak Bridge. But realistically, you know, again, that is a council service which we are funding from our area committees, and I would hate to see pushed upon us in the future any more council services, because we need to leave the rest of the money for community projects that we can boost their services they deliver to the communities, rather than keep boosting up. Because if council are cutting the funding, which they have, and then taking it from area committees, which is what's happening, there won't be any point in holding area committees. And I hope you're going to agree with that, Chairman, because you're a community-minded person and you're a member, you know, you are the chairman of this committee. So that's what I've got to say on this. And in relation to when the money is spent on the Pride team, I would like the officers to speak to individual wards. Yes, they're going to speak to you because you're the chairman, but it would be good if time was set aside to speak to the actual ward members, because we are picking up stuff from our communities, you know, projects, areas that need the Pride team. So that's what I would like as well, whereas I wouldn't like that to be dumbed down, because we're all putting in the same amount of money, and let's hope by the end of the year we've got some happy councillors and certainly, and more importantly, some very happy constituents, because after all, they're paying for this. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Sargent. On your first point, I totally agree with you. Surprise, surprise, I do. Yeah, I totally agree with you. We are getting too much of, if you like, central funding. As you say, it's necessary, but yes, I don't disagree with what you're saying, and I'll try and see what I can do. Talking to the administration, which, as you know, I'm not part of. I thought I'd get that in. Yes, as for the second point, yeah, I can see where you're coming from, and yes, we can work on that. And as you, this is, if you like, something, it's in progress, work in progress. So we'll see how we go, and yeah, I'll keep it in mind and see if we can work something out so that you get a greater input. We'll look at that. Yeah. Councillor Brockman.
Thanks, Chair. I'd like it put on record that I totally agree with Councillor Sargent on everything she said, apart from the fact that she said it's a matter of opinion, because it's truth, Terry. Seriously, we're not part of the administration, love. Okay,
Let's see
thank
your
you.
votes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Brockman. Has everyone else got anything to say? Councillor Allen.
Yes, could you just clarify this on paragraph 1 of your matters of consideration? There's 38,000 for 50% of a two-person Pride scheme. So does that mean we've got £76,000 to fund Pride team activities for the year?
No, what I believe that is there's 38, and basically you get half that Pride team for half of the year time allocated.
So the 38,000 is for 6 months of the Pride team?
Yes, correct.
And those Pride team activities are defined by yourselves as the administration, and from council inquiries asking for things to be done. Is that how the Pride team works are done or requested?
What, as the new way of working you're talking about?
As a way of working?
I mean, what we're hoping to do is obviously go to the chairs and then agree with the chairs exactly what each ward, with the chairs and yourselves, work you want for that money that's allocated.
So the work we've done, which would come under the Pride team's work ethic, we request the chair, Alan Ball, of what we want doing in our various areas, and you, Alan, we communicate to the council operatives what's required.
That's the way I understand it, yeah, at the moment, yeah.
Is there any other way Pride team can receive instructions other than from chairman to the administration?
Yeah, I mean, there is, as I said to George, there is Councillor Jeffrey, there is the council inquiries way of speaking to us as well that we take up. So
that bypasses the chairman, our chairman then. So individual councillors arranged here can set up a councillors' inquiries which you will respond to, and then in addition to that, there's whatever we ask our chairman to communicate to yourselves.
Yeah, that's correct.
Councillor Myers?
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. So, what we're saying here is then we all use council inquiries to put forward certain clearbacks in alleyways and park hedges and things like that, and roadside hedges for the Pride team to get on with currently. So are you saying that if we agree this funding this evening of the £38,000, what we put into or through the chair as part of this £38,000 scheme, is that then prioritised higher than what someone had put in through council inquiries?
Well, it depends. It depends on what the inquiry is. Everything's unique, obviously. So, but obviously the work that you put forward takes prominence. To be honest with you, but there are certain things, you know, health and safety and things like that we would have addressed, and that could mean the Pride team going out and dealing with some of those inquiries.
Okay, yeah, I should have taken the things. If it was a serious health and safety issue, then yes, I would agree that you'd have to go deal with those first. I just meant with general inquiries and what would take precedence. Obviously, if there was literally something that was dangerous, then of course you'd have to take priority in order to deal with that. I totally understand that, and you'd have to get on with that. I wasn't saying that at all. But what I'm getting at, I think, is that, of course, I have some inquiries in, I'm sure other councillors here have some inquiries in, is that, of course, if we then start writing lists of what we want the Pride team to do each month from this committee, in the Wickford Area Committee and including, you know, all of the wards in the area, is that would that then take priority over the normal stuff that was put through council inquiries rather than going through the chair in the first instance?
Hi, Councillor. I'll try and answer as best I can. Obviously, this is not my service area, but my understanding from this piece of work is what this enables is a much closer dialogue between the Pride teams and the area committees, and a regular dialogue, so they'll be coming back to the area committees more often. So deciding the work programme will be a much greater collaborative approach. That's the opportunity here, as I understand it, and also being able to scrutinise that through the area committees moving forward.
So to come back then, so the £38,000, are we saying then that even if there's existing council inquiries and obviously being planned now and we go forwards with this funding, we're saying that the 38,000 will give us the opportunity for, well, absolutely more work, because I don't know, you know, I know how it works at the moment, and I know the other area committees have kind of, well, Basildon, for example, just absolutely pushed it through, but Billericay had quite a lot of questions on this, and you know, sorry, Mark, you're in this position of being dragged down, and you know, it's a bit unfortunate for yourself, I would say. But
yeah, sorry, I think what we've got to understand is it's something very new, and there's not direct answer. I can't answer exactly what the questions are because it is something new. So we've got to talk together and discuss it further to get a proper way of working between us all, and that's going to take time, and obviously it'll evolve into something that works well, but we can't sort of tell you exactly what it's going to be until we actually trial it and go ahead and do it.
Have you finished, Councillor Myers? I've got you, Councillor Sargent. So we're paying for 50% of the Pride team as an area committee. The other 50%, I assume, is going to be normal work in the Wickford area wards. Is that right?
No, that other 50% is also is the bit we use the Pride team for Billericay area as well. So that time will be spent in the Billericay also.
So we will only get 50%. So what about the normal work that you do at the moment?
That is split between Wickford and Billericay.
Councillor Sargent.
Chairman, I did ask, when I spoke a little while ago, that because the officer spoke about speaking to you as the chair, and I said it would be good if you came out to the ward councillors as well, because we can't forget the ethos that this is a Wickford Area Committee, and that the whole ethos of them being set up was to be part of the community. And if we are not putting forward, yes, we will put forward through councillor inquiries, but I'm thinking, and maybe you can, if you can't clarify this now, you can get it clarified for us. We should be discussing the funding that this evening, the funding that we're putting forward from our budget of 38,000 and how that is going to be spent. So as the officer said, he will speak to you, and then what we were saying was, or what I was saying, it would be good if you then came out to the wards, because we've already got some things that we want to put forward from this, or some of us have already got councillor inquiries. But is there a differential between the two? Do we still put councillor inquiries in, or does this put the block on that? And all we can do then is just spend this money however and whichever way those projects for the Pride team come in.
Well, obviously I can't answer that at the moment, but I'll find the answer for you. I agree with what you're saying, and yes, I will liaise with all of you. Yeah, I mean that's there's no doubt about that. I will liaise with all of you, but as Mark said, it's new at the moment. So
if you can just find out about this Pride team v councillor inquiries, because that's going to be quite confusing if we because some of us have already got things going through on councillor inquiries, and then
included.
Exactly. So does that mean we've spent our money, or does it mean we've got our 38? And that's why it'd be good if we all spoke together as councillors, so that we're all got an equal part of the money to spend in our wards. Thank you.
I will ask a question.
Yeah. If I can just give it for an example, say if you had a hedge, like you're saying, Terry, you had a hedge that was overgrown footpath this time of year, and you put it through a council inquiry, that's something we would just do. That's separate to, what you might put forward as a project, or, can you spend a month in Noakbridge tidying up? It's completely separate to that. That is something that we do as our day-to-day work as well.
Thanks, Mark. That's very helpful.
Councillor Jeffrey?
Thanks, Chairman. I think what we just need to get together is there seems to be some teething problems with it. So I think what might be helpful is just to sort of reassure all of us, is just sort of wrap this round in a little bit of a motion that we can do as a committee to make sure that members' requests aren't exactly ignored. So I'd like to propose the following. That ward members shall be able to raise specific requests for work within their ward to be included in the monthly Pride Team programme. The chairman shall not withhold or override such ward member requests. I've been duly. Thank you.
So, what, do you want to put that to the vote?
Just to clarify, Chairman, this is just, we've got some concerns here, and this is just wrapping it round to make sure that we get the reassurances we want. I can't see the political point here. I just think we just really need to get this as a committee, hopefully unanimously, and say that we can't have it going any which way. So, yeah, hopefully we can get...
This is how we want to spend the money.
I've got no. I'm not going to stop anything, so I've got no problem with it. You know, I mean, you know, there's no political motivation here. So yeah, I mean, I've got no problem. But we need, if it's going to work, we probably need a central point for the things to come into. That's all I'm saying, Chair. But yeah, I mean, if you want to put it to the vote, we'll put it to the vote. Yeah. All right. All those in favour, please show. Yeah, you've got unanimous. Yeah. I'm not going to block anything. But yeah. So, Councillor Allen.
It's during the conversation, it seemed to me that 38,000 also went to the Billericay Association or other area committees. Was that intentional or?
Yeah, I can confirm, Councillor, that's already been agreed by the Billericay Area Committee.
But the 38,000 we've got here is just for the Wickford Committee area. That's not to be spent in Billericay or Basildon. No, just here.
Councillor Aldridge.
Thank you, Chair. If I remember, unless I've got it mistaken, at the last meeting, when Officer James Herrickson was here, he said that the budget was 76,000, of which the area committee will be paying to 38 in order to support that with. What I'm not so seeing from what the officer today is saying is that we're only going to get 26 weeks worth of support and only putting the 38,000 in. Does the officers confirm that we are still going to get the other 38,000 coming out of the Standards of Pride budget to do the rest of the general routines items?
Yeah, so this is correct. It's a 50% enhancement. That's what this is. So yes, this is a 50% enhancement. So funding this gives the area committee that greater control to work together around the things that matter most for you guys to spend this money on, to help drive that and to help scrutinise that moving forward. If you chose not to fund it today, then that would obviously significantly reduce the Pride Team efforts in this area.
Okay, lovely, thank you. So, we're like the example of hedge cutting and things that you would automatically do. Would we really need a list of the, if you like, sort of out of the ordinary actions that could be done in order so we know, right, okay, these are the items that are going to come out of our contribution into the Pride Team, as opposed to the regular automatic ones that you do at the moment?
I think the opportunity here, without having the encyclopedic knowledge of what's in the contract and which bush needs to be cut on what date and etc. I think what this is an opportunity to have a co-productive relationship with the team to say, so you can have this dialogue around, we would like this cut here, and they'll be saying, well, that's already in the contract, so we'll make sure that happens, but we'd like this to happen, okay, that's a priority. It's the chance to have much greater direct control over the management of the Pride teams in your area. So I think it's the dialogue really, without giving you a big list of what gets cut on what day. That will be that'll be digging it out of a big contract. But Mark and James and Rob and all of their teams will have that dialogue with you. I think that's the opportunity here.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sorted, yeah? Yeah. Okay, Councillor Brockman.
It's me again. Okay, I might have missed this, so sorry, apologies if I did. When we put anything through councillor inquiries normally, we do get a feedback saying that's completed or whatever. If we go directly through the chair or whatever, will you be sending back a report saying that job's done, kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, that doesn't change at all. It's still exactly the same. But what we've got to look at is this is specific stuff on top of that, where you can direct your resources more into something you want to do within your area. So, you know, if you want to do something within, I don't know, the park, for example, the park, or you want to do tidying up the park or make the park look better, you can spend more time getting that job done properly rather than just someone coming in, being in there a day and going away. So it's, you know, in some respects you can make more of a difference with this.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Councillor Myers.
Thank you. Just a couple of points of clarification then, because obviously we have a grounds maintenance team that's with Heidi Verdi at the moment, obviously doing the roads and the alleyways that we currently have, or the open pathways that we have. In terms of this Pride team, would there be any overlap in terms of sort of council spend and waste, or will you be talking to each other about how that works? Because obviously if we can see, for example, that there is a major route, such as in our ward there is one that goes through where ID Verdi do go down and cut it, but perhaps it does need a bit of tender loving care now and again, would that be something for the Pride team to do, or would that go back to the grounds maintenance contract? Because obviously the difference is, as a council, you don't want to be duplicating work here, and you just want to make sure that whatever we put forward for the work programme isn't then going to be turned up next day with someone else to do the work that's already been done by your teams. Sorry, Mark.
Yeah, obviously ID Verdi are contracted to do a specific type amount of work. So, for example, with the pruning, they only do one prune a year. So, if there comes, for example, if there comes a point where they've done their job and then you need an extra prune because of there is an issue, we would put the Pride team in to do that, like we've always done. Sorry, did that answer your question?
It half does. I think the point I was getting at, of course, was that if it was already scheduled for a prune by ID Verdi, but then we reported it to you guys to do, and then you've come and done it, and then they've turned up and they can't. You know, that's what I'm guessing at. You know.
Yeah, that shouldn't happen, Councillor. That would not be right and appropriate, and that shouldn't happen. And I don't believe that would happen. If it's been funded and paid for, then it wouldn't be paid for twice by the taxpayer. That would be a failure if so.
I suppose what I was getting at was that the teams obviously talk to each other about where they've been and what they've done.
Yeah, they're all managed under the same service, of course. So
okay, yeah, that's fine.
I mean, if I can just say, each area's got a neighbourhood supervisor now, so that is the main point of contact. It was me, but I'm now been taken up into operations manager, and it's now Ian King that's looking after your area. But they are still the point of contact, and they will help you out and discuss and give you as much advice as you need.
Sorry, could you just say his name again?
Yeah, it's Ian King. Terry knows Ian King quite well. Ian King, who's Parks officer.
Have you? Yeah, okay. Yeah. Councillor Allen?
Yes, the 38,000 is 50% of a two-person Pride team. So there's £76,000 being spent during the year for the two-person Pride team, of which 38,000 is ongoing, supervised by yourself, and the other 38,000 is subject to requests from the area committee. Is that correct?
If funded tonight, yes.
Any more questions? So I will put this to the vote. That there's a £38,000 investment to fund 50% of a two-person pride team for the Wickford Area Committee. 30,000 from the Believe in Basildon Fund and 2,667 from the Community Fund of Wickford North, Wickford Park and Wickford Castle and Crouch. All those in favour, please show. Well, we all agree. Reluctantly, I think eventually, yeah. Okay, so we'll move on to the second funding consideration. This is quite a little bit simpler, this one. A £500 funding award for to the Wickford Food Bank at the Salvation Army for the purchase of a fridge for the community from the Community Priority Fund of Wickford North. Any questions? Councillor Brockman.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer really. I'm just going to ask that we put this to the vote straight away because I can't see if anyone's going to go against it.
You second that? Yeah. Your question.
I do ask this each time though, and it is of course about VAT.
Oh.
I do ask this all the time. This sort of thing, you know, whether or not, you know, are we paying with the funding, or are they eligible to claim back the funding that we give to them to purchase the freezer and cool storage?
Yes.
And when they're able to then claim that back as a Salvation Army.
I mean, we're not in a position to help support tax not being paid, council. That's obviously not how it works. That's a legal aspect, isn't it, of course?
Councillor Simon.
It's not a question, Chairman, it's just my support for the Salvation Army. I think they're an absolutely fabulous, fantastic organisation, and I'm sure that fridge will be well deserved. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any more questions? I thought it might have been a bit simpler. So if a £500 funding award to Wickford Food Bank at the Salvation Army for the purchase of a fridge from the Wickford Community Fund. All those in favour, please show. That's two unanimous. Let's see if we can make it three. We got a £1,500 investment per selected site for the delivery of the Crunch service to be delivered in Wickford from the Basildon Believe in Basildon Fund or Community Priority Fund, depending on location. There's 5 locations. Now, I think we can choose up to 5 locations or none. So, has anyone got any thoughts? Councillor Jeffrey.
Thanks, Chairman. Before I make suggestions on location, I'm just looking at the 20th of September and the Saturday 4th of March. I'm just wondering if they're a bit too close together. I know obviously they might be different sides of our sort of area committee.
4th of October, you mean?
Yes, sorry. 20th of September and 4th of October. I just wondering if we have them a little bit more spaced out, perhaps a little bit closer to Christmas or November. So it's not so spaced together. I'm not so fussed about that, but I thought I'd just raise that before we go ahead.
I think this was brought up in one of the other area committees, and I think it's when there's people available, staff available, but I'm not sure. Yeah, Councillor Myers.
Yeah, whilst I do agree with that principle, I will just say that this area committee is quite a large geographical area, and I feel if there's one down one side of the area and one down the other, I don't think it would be too much of a problem. But of course it is just whether or not where we're going to go and put those places.
Councillor Jeffrey again. I've got you.
Yep, just putting on from what Councillor Meyer said, I'd just like to put in 2 requests, which would be the Wick Country Park and Kershaw Close. So I'll leave the other 2, or the other 3, to either ward members. I'm happy to support it in, say, Shopgate or think it's 7 acres estate or any such like. So, and I'll defer to my colleagues in Castleton and Crouch for the others.
I think you'll find that some locations are not practical now, but yeah, the Wick Country Park is obviously, we've had one before. I think Councillor Sargent suggested Note Bridge and we wasn't able to do it, even though, so we can ask the officers of that in a minute. Councillor Sargent, did you want to say something?
Well, the thing is, Chairman, Note Bridge is large, and the fact that there is nowhere to put it, I don't believe that's fair. It really isn't fair. Surely, I mean, there must be somewhere within Note Bridge that we can hold a crunch. I mean, I've went to James and gave him a couple of examples, to which he said no. It has been muted on the Wash Road playing field, but that is grassed area. So I don't know whether that can be considered, because I've got no idea how many vehicles, or even if the council could cut down on some vehicles to get it in. I mean, when I've spoken to members of the community, because one of the areas I put forward was the entrance to the nature reserve. But then further on speaking about that, and I know that the officer's listening, even if we opened up the gates and let those vehicles into the front of the nature reserve, because there's nothing along the pathway. You could have one outside and maybe a couple inside. That might work. And I mean, if Mark could take that back for consideration as to how many vehicles they could get there, because it was very popular. And I'm pleased to say that Craig's Hill was extremely popular, and they would like, you know, at one of these locations, they would, because I've spoken to the chairman, they would also like that location put forward again at some stage when, you know, when other areas have had their fair turn as well.
Yeah, all I'll say is the locations is a problem, as the officer at the front will know. I have asked many times for different locations, because you say we've had one at Crazy and one in the Wick Country Park last year, and as far as Colleen's concerned, they haven't come back, because we've got none in Wickford North, and I felt we'd had one in Castleton and Crouch and one in Park, and I felt it fair to have one in Wickford North, but they haven't come back with any suitable locations. So locations are a problem, but even if we stuck with the two locations we've got, they are quite diverse and quite a long way, as Councillor Myers says, from each other. But yes, I mean, we could have, I'm looking at other locations for these, yeah, I agree. And if perhaps the officer, Mark, would like to come in on that.
Yeah, I think we just need to look at other locations and spend a bit of time seeing whether there is any better locations. Honestly, it's not something we could say right now, but obviously if the officers get their heads together and start looking at other and put them forward, then maybe there is some more suitable locations that we haven't actually noticed at the moment that could be, you know, preferable.
Councillor Sargent?
Mark, is it possible that, I mean, as I say, maybe you can let me know how many vehicles that you do use. Is it possible that on locations that we are in that can't be serviced, or appears, that we can have less vehicles? Is that a possibility?
I think the thing is, Mark and the team can look at that, but you will need a minimum level of ability to segregate to kind of keep within our legislation. So I think where we're at is, I think James and his team, Mark, etc., are very keen to work with you all to find as better solution as we can. I don't think we're going to necessarily get to the bottom of that in today's meeting, but I think there is I'm happy to give on record a confirmation and that James and his team will work with you all to find a really good programme the best we can collectively.
All I can suggest is if everyone puts in the suggestions to me, I'll collate them and we'll see if we can come up with 5 good locations. That's all I can suggest. Councillor Myers?
Yeah, and obviously no problem with the 5 locations, but obviously with those that are fairly close together, we want to make sure that if we do get the 5 locations, we can obviously spread them east to west. A bit wider. Now, of course, we've got the Wick Country Park, which you know is very suitable, and Craig's Hill last time was very suitable. But we had ones in the past, and I remember when this administration first did one, please don't definitely use Scott Drive again. That was absolutely horrendous. Although that was done on grass, but that was absolutely horrendous. In terms of sort of you said about Wickford North and Shotgate, there's been ones in the past in Barn Hall, Shotgate and Highcliffe. So whether or not they may be suitable for Wickford North in the future, I'm not sure. They've got quite big areas around there as well. I mean, Councillor Jeffries mentioned Kershaw's Way, and obviously if they're found not to be suitable for, I know it's been used in the past, we know that the garages around Keats Way, not too far away, are more than suitable. If residents know that they can't use their garage between 9 and 12, I don't see that's a particular issue. If they know they can get rid of their rubbish, maybe they'll open their garage up and get rid of it themselves. Yeah, absolutely. But in terms of Note Bridge, it is a particular issue because of the number of teams you have. It used to be a couple of lorries, now it seems to be quite a lot of lorries and vans, etc. But when we're looking at the Note Bridge playing fields, it is an open area, and there is or even working with the Note Bridge pub and people to park up there from 9 till 12 before they open. Whether or not that's something we can look into, and hope you guys are making notes on these particular locations where we can look into. But I'm happy to send emails off afterwards if that's the and go from there. But there are places, there are locations with the amount of trucks and vans that are needed in order for residents to get rid of what they need to get rid of. We know 2 which are fairly easy to do, but I think some of the other locations can be suitable going forward. So obviously, definitely not Scott Drive. I know it's where I live, but yeah, please don't do it down there.
Yeah, I did suggest Barn Hall and Shotgate, and they got rejected by whoever. So they have been suggested. So yeah, I've written down all the locations that's been mentioned, and I do agree. Yeah, Councillor Jeffrey.
Yeah, thanks, Chairman. I think when you're saying like Shotgate was refused, but when I was just checking online, it said that it was, I think it was Bruce Grove, Russell Gardens End. So clearly it was suitable at one point in time, because I'm just looking at Facebook and it says that it's there SH118QH. So I'm just wondering, had something actually changed from when we last used it? But I think just from residents' perspective, if it's been used before, they will wonder what has changed since it was last there, and we need to look at other areas we can use to. Not saying, if it's something has changed, that's fine, but I don't see any reason why, if it's not been there before, it can't go there again.
I'll bring Colleen in.
Yes, Councillor. It wasn't at the moment, I understand, not rejected, but we were waiting for the areas to be assessed. So the last I heard from James Hendry, it was they need to go out and do a full assessment of the areas for a number of reasons. So I'm waiting to hear back on those.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, if I can just say, obviously, a lot of these areas, they've got to have free flow of traffic in and out. So that's the biggest where you've got a park or a bigger area. Cars are in and coming out. Otherwise we're going to end up blocking the streets. There's also all sorts of chaos going on. So it's got to be a car park is like a good place for it to be.
Councillor Aldridge.
sorry, Chair. Thank you. 2.1. I think one of the issues with some of the parking location is it's not so much the council vehicles or the residents' vehicles, it's the combination of the two as to how many are likely to be there at any one point in time. And I think, and as you say, getting the through flow of people to be able to come in from one way and get out another way, so we can sort things out. So I think that might be one of the issues behind things. Another one that came up, I'm just wondering is, because a lot of the because the crunches are usually on a Saturday, whether there could be sort of an area on the streets in the shop gates or industrial area that could be used. So from the point of view so that most of the industries and everything around there, there's very few that work on a Saturday. And so I'm just thinking that if we had a way that we could have a circular flow of traffic coming in one way and going out another, whether that could be used. Thank you.
I've written it down on the list. Councillor Brockman?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about the Bruce Grove where location that Councillor Jeffrey was talking about. I believe, if I remember rightly, it was to do with the barrier that goes across, and also the fact that they were using the location was the old bus garage there, but it's now been built up. I think it's being built on now, and I think that won't be available. Maybe it's worth a check, but I'm sure it's being developed soon. Okay.
Okay, thank you for that. Any other questions? I've got a list here of locations which I'll put into the Barleylands team, and we'll see what they come back with. So I've written down Kershaw's Close, Witch Country Park, Notebridge Nature Reserve, Craze Hill, Barn Hall, Shopgate, Highcliffe, Notebridge Pub and Shopgate Industrial Area. Did I miss any? At where? Notebridge playing fields, okay. And Keats. Yeah. Okay, I'll put all them in as possible locations. I've put that. I've remembered that. So, do we agree then that we will fund 5 locations for the crunch in the next municipal year at £1,500 per investment? All those in favour, please show. Right, we're doing well here, aren't we? Right, so that is unanimous. So thank you for that. So that's all the funding done. Now, the next thing I wanted to do was, going forward, we need a work programme. So if members come up with ideas for a work programme, and we'll develop a work programme so that we've got a structure for the agendas going forward. Obviously, I'll start with Councillor Myers.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. After working with the Notebridge litter pickers, who sadly weren't here this evening because he's on holiday, although he won't be too sad about that, I'm sure. There was a request, and I have some costings for circa £2,500 for an additional 4 dog refuge bins along the Wash Road area to be considered for the next funding considerations out of the capital funding.
Okay, I'll go on the work programme. We've also got, obviously, we're looking at the signs for the Wickford High Street, which we're already doing, so I'll put that one down, and also some enhancements to the bridge between the Wick and Shopgate, so they will go on there. Councillor Sargent.
Craze Hill wanted some enhancements to their play area and at the rec, and I wondered what happened to the Ramsden Bell House, the flooding and the park, because when it floods, the park can't be used, and we all understand that there's a landowner that owns the land and needs to sort that out. But have we made any progress? Have we made any progress at all on this? Because the Bell House is getting completely missed out, and I know it's been lovely and sunny, but we've had more rain in the past and more flooding where the youngsters over there can't use that park. And I don't, you know, and the thing is, if there is no money in the budget, like we've all, Note Bridge has had their park cut, and that park was down this year until it was cut by the administration to have improvements to that park. So I don't think we should just put it to one side. I know there's problems, but let's not just say, no, we can't do it. Surely there's something that can be done to stop the flooding so the children can use the park, if nothing else. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Do we know it? Have we got anything? Mark. Yeah, okay.
I'm actually new to this, so I've actually taken over from Glenn, or from Rob, to be honest with you. I will speak to them tomorrow and find out what's been proposed, and I'll come straight back to you.
It was in hand with James Hendry, but I know he's got a lot on, so I don't know what the latest is. But yeah, if you could do that, yeah. Colleen?
This inquiry came up a few times. I know Councillor Allen, you'd raised this as well, and I think I forwarded the response from Glenn Owers. I will follow it up with him, but I know in March that there was some budget identified for the drainage works at Ramsden Bell House, and it was part of the normal council work, so that was why it was being held off as an area committee item. So I will need to follow up, because at the time it had been identified and the works were due to be undertaken in the summer. So if that's okay, I can follow that up with Glenn and get an update with you on that.
Councillor Sargent, you want to come back?
I thought Alex said... I thought Alex was told that it was too expensive.
I'll view subsequent.
Was that the situation?
No, it's not what I said. No. Sorry.
I know Colleen did something through to us, but I'm raising it again because we raised this as one of our first priorities, because Councillor Allen and I were involved in this. Was it 2 years ago? And it was absolutely disgusting. And the thing is, that's our area, and we cannot let those children be without a play area. I mean, we've got the 6 weeks summer holiday coming up. If it rains, well, okay, it might not be flooded this time, but they had no park to speak of to play on last year. So I'll keep raising it until we get updates, whether you're going to do something or not. And we really do need to go back to that, have something to go back to that parish council, so that they can notify residents, what our aims and objectives are on that site. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, noted, and it's going to be followed up. And I don't think it's been forgotten, but I think I was told it was outside of the area committee, and there was other funding for it. But we'll find an answer for you. Councillor Jeffrey.
Thanks, Chairman. One of the ones to be suggested, and I submitted this before, was just some of the partial resurfacing of the entrance to the Wickford swimming pool. Yeah, the road there is in pretty poor condition. I did send a map for Colleen's reference. And just another one, I'm having some difficulties actually trying to progress one interest from a group. But if it's possible, I just need some officer time to just clarify some issues like land ownership. So if it's possible, Chair, just to get one of your team to get in contact with me so we can clarify who owns the land for that.
What we talking about, the swimming pool entrance?
Yeah, and then there's a separate one, but I just need some help with the land ownership because council's slow walking at the moment. So if I raise it publicly, so you respond.
So you don't want to say at the moment? Is that what
But
you...
it might not be under the ownership that we can deal with, so I don't want to build anyone's hopes up, and that would be wrong of me to do so.
Councillor Jeffrey, I've already brought up the Wickford swimming pool car park, got some figures for that, and some of the other items that you raised, and you sent me about Park Drive, that I was told that comes under Essex County Council, the jet washing of Cedar Avenue, that's under the General Works Maintenance, so I'm speaking to Glenn about that. Those were the two ones we discussed, and I know that there's currently a bin audit underway, so we're waiting for that to come in to see what bins are already going to be replaced regarding the bin that you raised.
Thanks, Shelby. It's just more so if someone can get in touch, I can just clarify some land ownership as well, so I can progress another one if that's possible, Chair.
So this one, this is not a definitive list. It's a list. It can be changed, so, and it can be added to. So it's just a starter. So if next meeting there's some more items that you want, add them next time. So has anyone else got anything they want to add? Councillor Aldridge wants to speak.
Yeah, I do want to follow up with Councillor Sargent's comment about Note Bridge and the park is on to this year's, or was on this year's list for being upgraded and stuff. Shotgate Park is also on that list, and that's also been rejected as well. And there's a lot of issues with trees that have come down and stuff like that. They're not, and the grounds people aren't cutting the grass up the bankings and stuff like they have done in previous years. So I need to probably raise another issue on that one. Thank you.
Perhaps now we've got more control, it'll get cut quicker, eh?
It's not always just the fact of it being cut quicker. It's more the fact that they're only doing half the job in the sense that they're not. Whereas in Shotgate Park there's certain some mounds and bits and pieces. A lot of those aren't. They're not putting the tractors up there to cut it, and where it's been left for so long, there's actually some trees up to about nearly 1.5 meters high that have grown in the space since they've been cut, and a lot of that has been post-COVID.
Well, perhaps that's a start. I'll put it through the chairman and we'll put it on the list. Councillor Myers?
Not a project as such, Chair, but obviously as we are all in some shape or form representing Wickford, there is currently a well publicised police operation happening in and around the high street of Wickford to deal with antisocial behaviour. I just wondered for our next area committee if we could invite the police down to have a chat about what's happening in our areas.
Yeah, I actually was speaking to our PCSOs on my drive in tonight, and that was one of the things we were discussing about coming in.
Okay, so perhaps that could be the community spotlight for the next one.
I'm seeing them on Saturday, I'll clarify that.
Yeah, could we have, Colleen, could we have the police as a community spotlight for next?
Yeah, I'll invite them. I had sent a few invitations out, but I don't think the time of these meetings were convenient, but I can do that again.
Try and get the police here for this one, yeah.
I wouldn't put it under the community spotlight. I think that's about promoting the good work that the community are doing. But I think you're absolutely, you can just invite the police along to come and speak the way Morgan Sindel are going to be here tonight. So with regards to that collaboration and scrutiny point, then I would invite them to have their own item on that basis.
As an addition to the spotlight you're talking, yeah?
Yeah, I wouldn't confuse the two. I think the spotlight's about giving an opportunity to showcase the good work the community of Rochester are doing in the borough. I think this is a separate item, but exactly what the area committee should be doing now.
Okay, so yeah. So the answer to your question is yes. We will invite the police. Has anyone else got anything for the work programme at this moment in time. Right, okay. We'll get Emma to put a work programme together, and that's the last item, so the meeting is now closed. Thank you very much, everyone.